Welcome back to the Lost Beat 6 show. It's podcast time. Anyway, we got a great show for you today. We're still doing Making the Scene with PLaNETS. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Anyway, this episode is going to feature Emily Elkin, a good friend of mine who played on David Sparrow's Beggars and Choosers record. Kind of made that record, really. And David will say that more than anybody else. And she's been a wonderful cello player. She's been here for about she's been in Los Angeles for about 10 years or so. She's played in LA River Band. She's been on the PLaNETS stage many times. She, up until recently, she still is, obviously we're all touring. We were touring and we're not touring but she was on the road with Angel Olsen. And then she also showed up in a Weezer video, which is really cool. And that's, that's sort of an awesome moment to see your friend show up in a Weezer video, especially if you're like me playing in garage bands in high school. And then, lo and behold, Anyway, thank you, Weezer, for giving our friend a big spotlight there. Anyway, she and her husband, Kenny, have a new project they put out the last year or so. And it's called the Sunny Hope Hall Children's Choir, and it's really cool stuff. I was listening to it earlier, and it's very cool vibes. Very they do a cover of Head Over Heels, which is a personal favorite of the Beefers here at Lost Beat 6, and so we have all of their work and some of the highlights of her of both Emily's and Kenny's stuff in the show notes. It was really good to talk to her when we spoke. She was in New York and visiting family, and it was a good chance for us to kind of catch up and kind of talk about how we all got here. And so there's a lot of my stories in there, a lot of her stories. So it's a really good catch-up episode. And if you haven't checked out the rest of the series that we're doing, please do. It's I think from episode 3 onward, it's mostly PLaNETS peeps. And it's just a good chance to meet everybody. And so when you come into this program, this current episode, then you have a little more context into who's who, and support everybody that's been here before us and all that. Bandcamp Friday is coming up, so please, that's the fee waiving. Support the artists, support our artists, support the artists that we've talked to that have links on the show notes and stuff they're doing, because we all could use a little hand. I know things are looking a little bit better, but it's still going to be a while for most people to be playing shows unless we, but all that stuff. So, although I think there's good news towards summer and fall. So I'm looking up on things like that. But anyway, let's get on with the show, because I'd rather hear from Emily and her story anyway. So let's get started. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Thanks for making the scene. You're here.
I'm here. We did it.
How are you?
I'm good.
That's good.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
What you sipping on?
Oh, this is actually some Blue Mountain Jamaican coffee.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, it's from Coffee Bean, so it's not exactly the most exclusive thing. You could buy it at the store if you wanted to, but it's the only one I could find. We have a segment, we have like a branch called Lost Bites.
Oh, hell yeah.
And Ryan Pressman runs that. He asked me to do all these coffees, and it's National Reggae Month, in addition to being Black History Month and
I didn't know that.
Something else. At least it's in Jamaica. I don't know if it's National Reggae Month in America, but it definitely is in Jamaica. So I was just like,
arts. Yeah.
So I've been listening to Bob Marley live and drinking this in my special RCA Studio B mug that you can see on the screen that nobody else can, because they're not going to see this video. And,
but now they'll feel like they're actually here with us.
No, yes, it feels. This is implying that we're having a casual conversation about your experiences with the PLaNETS peeps,
yes,
and the encircling frenzy that was whatever that was. So
I like an implied casualness. It's good.
Yes. I don't think I've seen you or talked to you since you got married. Congratulations.
Yes. Hey, thanks. Yeah.
And you're now hanging out with Rivers Cuomo. What the hell?
I have a new best friend and a new husband. Yeah.
Very nice. I might just kick it off with that. How's the Weezer gig?
Oh, it was so fun. It was a fun day. It was like very random. I think they texted me. I think it was like the day before the shoot was supposed to happen and asked if I was available. So
nice.
like, am I available? Yeah. First of all, I have absolutely nothing going on. Happiness Spencer, he's a artist and musician in town. I think he got my name from Ethan, actually.
Okay.
Nice. And Spencer was on the art department, and I guess they were just looking for a cello player. So.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah, very random, but very awesome. Yeah.
And I mentioned this to you before, but I do apologize when I was not actually there when you were on the Sparrow sessions, the David Sparrow recordings, which kind of makes that record. You know, he and I talk a little bit, and he keeps going. He always says, "No offense to you, but Emily really made that record, man. That's really
no way."
He's talking to me in that regard, like, you know, like, you did a great job, but she actually kind of like made that thing. So
that is very generous. I don't know if that's true, but
I can't disagree with them all that much because, you know, some of my favorite songs were elevated even further, like "Sorry Heart."
Oh yeah,
it's great, and part of that is the cello part that you came up with. That was fantastic. So
that's so kind of you. Thanks.
Oh yeah. So thank you. So
yeah. No. Thank you.
No, thank you. No. So we can probably start off. Yeah. Where do you want to? Where do you want to start? We can start at. You're currently in New York. That's where you're from originally?
Yes, I'm in Buffalo right now.
Oh, Buffalo. Wow.
I
didn't. Okay, that's I had East Coast bias, like, oh yeah, New York City, or you know, or you know, Jersey or something. So
yeah,
West
I'm
New York.
gonna go to Brooklyn once this quarantine is over after the flight. I'm at my parents right now. My sister's in Brooklyn, so
okay,
I'm gonna do a tour of seeing family I haven't seen in months and months and months. Seeing my new nephew, and yeah, it'll be good. I was like, stuff was slow at home, and unfortunately Kenny's home. He's like had to work, and he's pretty immunocompromised. Sorry, Kenny, to like put you on blast right now. So we're just like being very safe these days. So,
no reason to not be, not to mess around anyway.
Yeah, we ain't messing.
No.
So yeah, I'm just here to spend some time with the fam for a little while.
That's good. It's just a little fresh air and little space, and you said you live in an apartment, right? So that's pretty.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So we have some space. We turned the master bedroom in our apartment into a studio, so we have like a lot of room to record and work, and yeah.
Any new projects that you can share? Right away.
Well, we just did put a cello part on Angel Olsen's doing the cover, so we've been working on that. Put some cello on that. Kenny's like my in-house engineer.
Nice.
And he actually just finished recording a new album that had a lot of strings on it, so I sang some background vocals and did some cello on that. So
awesome.
Been like keeping busy-ish.
That's great. I feel like this has been a golden opportunity window where there's a chance to really. When I talked to Michael Jorgensen about this, there's been an element of like pressure, like self motivated pressure to make sure you have something to show for this off period. We've all
it's that internalized capitalism, man. We gotta set ourselves free.
Make more product. Yeah, definitely.
But you're absolutely right. There has been like that pressure about.
Well, let's just start at the beginning. I'm starting to notice that there's a lot of recurring themes within the people that kind of come into the planet's orbit, and part of that is there's a certain element of Los Angeles transplants finding their way, and I guess this applies to you being from West New York.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think let's just go ahead and tell me your story from up until you meet all these crazy people.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of felt this kind of question was coming, so I tried to look back in my photos to place when I met everybody.
Sure.
And it looks like when LA Riverbend played no, that wasn't it. Okay, the first show of PLaNETS was July 2013, I saw. And before I moved to LA in 2011, and it was like a pretty, I don't know how much detail you want from my
as much as you're comfortable with,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I moved in 2011, and within a few months of moving out there, the relationship I moved out there with ended, and I broke my arm in 3 places, so it kind of put a wrench in any sort of career exploration or what have you. So I came home to New York and healed, and then went back to LA, and it was working in a creperie in West Hollywood. all my jobs, and well, not all of them, but a lot of them were making crepes. Just a very weird specialized skill.
That's fine. Crepes are great.
They're delicious.
Yeah,
ain't nothing wrong. Yeah,
there's a coffee shop out here in Camarillo and Ventura County called Eggs and Things, and they kind of give you a free crepe. As it's almost like instead of toast or
bread basket.
Bread, instead of a bread basket, they give you a crepe with some sugar and a little bit of jam. It's really nice.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, crepes are great.
I love them.
Yeah.
But let's see. That job was how I met the first people I started playing music with in LA, which it wasn't looking back, it was very much how I thought how we said that. It wasn't making sense anyway.
Well, we were at crepes. Crepes are delicious. And you were doing a lot of crepe jobs. Crepe jobs.
Yes. And then my coworkers at that cafe were the first people I played music with. And it was at places like Avalon, very Hollywoody kind of vibe that it, just wasn't the most comfortable scene to be in, and it really didn't feel like me per se. But through those weird gigs was how I think I first met Brandon, who ended up in LA Riverbend, who you just talked to. And then we formed a band, or actually Nate and Brandon were about to go on a tour, and they asked if I'd join, and that was kind of the first time I met them, and we did a tour up the West Coast, which was awesome. And so Brandon and Nate were the first people that showed me there was a kind, open scene in LA that I hadn't seen before. And that the first show we played with PLaNETS was with me and LA Riverbend. We opened for them I think at the Satellite in 2013. And yeah, I remember walking up to the Satellite with my amp and stuff, and the van, the PLaNETS van, being parked out front, and Stilly and Nathaniel and probably Alan, or they're probably all out there, just drinking beers, and of course we're just hey, come have a beer with us, and these people I didn't really know, and just immediately friends were there. That was cool.
That's great. And I know you integrated yourself it seems like it was seamlessly based on just as far as oh my gosh, we have a cello player now, you can use,
cello's great, you gotta use this.
I'm trying to make it sound we can use her. No, sorry. But how did you find yourself playing at shows with them?
I think it was kind of like that, and like what I've heard other people say about PLaNETS and Stilly in your past episodes. It's just like you have a home, and if you want, like, if you have an idea that can make it happen, or if you want to, and immediately we're just like thinking about ways that cello could be incorporated, and yeah,
that's great. And there's a whole segment of Dark City that's just, that's your time to shine. It's fantastic.
Oh, thanks. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I feel really lucky because not only are they like incredible people, but they had this amazing show and this thing I hadn't seen in LA yet, like in my time there. And it was just a really special thing to be able to be a part of.
I'm always fascinated by the cello you have. It reminds me of like Tony Levin's upright bass with no body. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But where'd you find that?
That instrument?
Find a solution, yeah.
I've been playing an electric, like, it's a Yamaha silent electric.
Okay.
And I think I just saw someone, a cellist in college that I went to college with at Syracuse, had one. She was, you know the band Rah Rah Riot?
I don't.
That's okay. They were a band that came out of my college, and she played that in the band. I was like, hell yes, I must be that cool. Nice. So I got one too, and I've been playing. It's actually been a few years since I played that. It kind of just sits in my closet, but it still will always be very special to me because I used to play it all the time.
Yeah. Is there a preferred maker that you're currently using?
Yeah, I have an old wooden acoustic cello that's like, it's definitely my baby and very special, but I kind of treat it more like porcelain. Like, I don't really take it many places. I used to before I got a more resilient instrument, but it was always like kind of nervous making. And that one, it's German and it's from 1890, so it's just like very precious. But a few years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago, I got a carbon fiber cello by this company, Lewis and Clark, or Lewis and Clark. I don't know how to say.
Louis and Clark.
Louis?
Is it Lewis and Clark or is it Louis and Clark? Depending on how it's spelled.
Luis.
Okay, yeah, all right. It could be Louis.
Louis.
Sorry.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, my one of the reasons I'm asking you all of this questions, I have one of the guys I work with. Has an upright bass, wonderful jazz bass player, and he's actually been playing around with a collapsible plywood one.
Oh shit! Like the neck comes off.
Yeah, the neck comes off, and he can collapse the body into like at least. Into the body, so the neck's not exposed anywhere, and you can travel with it more. Yeah, rigorously.
I've seen one of those before. I don't think it'll ever not be scary to see a neck come off an instrument. Like even if it's supposed to do that, like that's not natural.
Right. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of like you have to make sure the bridge is okay and the intonation's like consistent and stuff like that. There's a lot of things to go into that thing to make it work. But he's been it's been sounding good when we tour with it, so it's been like, okay, great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the carbon fiber, the main reason I got it is to travel. I still like put it in a travel case, but I know it's like going to be pretty solid.
Nice.
On the other side.
That's great. I asked this question to everybody, and it's more about where or why or how do you think there's this sort of magical connection between all these people that have come into this circle of groups and individuals and creative minds? Why?
Definitely a like-mindedness and like an open-mindedness and open-heartedness to like just want to create things and like a judgment-free zone. I feel like everyone in the world is looking for that sort of thing, but this is a group of people that are like brave and just really doing it, and it draws people in. It's really cool.
Have there been any favorite moments for you, either performance-wise or even non-performance wise, like I think it's something I haven't gotten into is like a lot of the stories that go on in the house or during rehearsal sessions, and I think people are starting to ask more about I know Myriad wants to know more about the fork heist situation, the silverware hoarding. But I don't know. Are there any highlights for you in this last decade? I like to think that this is not over, and this is an ongoing thing. It may cycle back into with more momentum than previously. Hopefully,
I think absolutely, yeah.
But I'm sorry, I keep adding on to this question. But essentially, do you have any favorite highlights that you can share?
I seriously have so many. I like one of my favorite rehearsal memories, I think, was rehearsing for a goth. Wait, was it a goth night? Well, it could have been a goth night or the Summer of Love show. All those rehearsals are so fun.
It's one or the other. It's either super goth or super hippie. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's true. But I think maybe Ethan or someone kind of alluded to them before, but it's just like, it's a rehearsal, but it's also just a time for everyone to be together and like drink beer and cram like 20 bodies into the ABC rehearsal space room. Like that's the size of a shoebox. And like, I just like, maybe part of it is just me really longing to be close to people right now. Sure. Like any other humans. But just like, it's so special. Just everyone being like sweaty in that little like tiny room with a terrible PA that's like always screeching, and I don't know, but it didn't matter. We were all just like jamming and figuring things out. And those were always really beautiful times. That I think that like I can't wait till the next one. Like we absolutely will, I think. That like non-performance wise, like PLaNETS people in general, like kind of were there for me at a really hard time around like 2016, 2017. I was like getting out of a relationship that was bad. And I like the PLaNETS house was where I went when my apartment like didn't feel like a safe place for me for a time. So I like, they were just like took me in literally. And yeah, like took a trip to Montana with a lot of those folks that was like, all like during that same time where just like needed a family, and they were that.
That's awesome. Yeah. I remember that's kind of when that same period of time is more when I became aware of this whole thing. And so that was sort of I had a different situation. I think I've explained it a couple times, and even episodes you haven't heard yet, I've explained it a few times. So, but there was that Father Time's Christmas special.
I forgot about the Christmas specials. Yeah,
it was the 2016 one where there was a lot of things. You know, things were kind of like there's a level of like my personal like career was getting slightly, you know, incrementally getting better and better by each year, even including during like the last 4 years. Yeah. But it was sort of at a point where my childhood best friend was like, he was hit by a car.
Oh my God.
That was early in the year, so it sort of set the tone.
In 2016.
Yeah, my child, yeah, he was
wow. Damn.
He died suddenly. And then a couple other things happened. There's a lot of like vitriol with the Trump stuff. The Cubs won the World Series. That was a bummer. Don't tell us. I mean, Zach. That's funny. I was working that with Zach and Dylan. They're Chicagoans, and their moms, you know, their parents are Chicago, and I met their mom, and like, isn't this great? I'm like, no. Sorry. If anybody else doesn't know, I'm a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan, and that was a really bad. World
it was
Series.
A dark time.
Dark time. I mean, there's a little bit of levity in all this stuff, but the point being is, I think there's a lot of sort of heavy stuff going on, and there was a level of like there was like an idea of what I wanted even things like Lost Beat 6 to be, even then, as far as like this group
as a label or as
a group of friends.
Okay. Yeah.
We're all friendly, and essentially, like, the label is the way this has become like a label is more of like a because we have to be, not that we want to be.
Got it. All right.
You know, and then also just mostly like I'm being an engineer and wanting to make records is you know kind of it's the goal to do that with, you know, and to do that with a group of friends that I have in Ventura was what I wanted to do, but it's very, very hard. And so after doing the Whitefire gig with the Zemeds and their Everly Brothers show, I went to like the next, like that weekend or the next, maybe that weekend, went to Casey's for the first time and did the Father Times Christmas special with everybody. And I met, and I knew some familiar faces. I saw Dubs. I'm like, oh, I know Dubs. I know. I knew you. I think I knew you at the time. I think at least I was aware of LA Riverbend. I think. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to backtrack that. I don't think I met you yet because I had just met Brandon. I had no idea what LA Riverbend was.
Okay.
So, sorry. But just like seeing how everybody seamlessly went through this show without a cynic bone in their body.
Yeah.
Going through this, and I'm like, this is what I wanted to have where I, you know, with my friends, but I can't do that. It's so hard for them to, and I feel like I'm outing my friends up here, but it's just a level of different, you know, it was such a opener. I don't know. Sorry. It was a jaw-dropping moment. So anyway, and that kind of opened the doors to like, oh, this is, you know, I didn't know a lot of these people, but I think but I knew about these Father Time PLaNETS things, and I got to keep going to these. Yeah. So I went to the Summer of Love one briefly. I
feel like we're both kind of like trying to go back through the timeline. And did you know like the Dubs and the Zemeds like before all this, like, or
it was mostly because of the Deltas of all.
Okay.
And the cinema.
Okay.
And
because I was looking back at my pictures, and like I know I met Leon and Zach and Dylan in 2012 at like a Halloween show at the Forge. So I'm still not 100% sure if I met PLaNETS through like that connection, or maybe Joe, because I know Joe talked to us as LA Riverbend like pretty early on. I have no idea. From what I'm gathering, it's all a blur.
From what I'm gathering, based on my talks with Brandon and my talks with Joe, is I believe.
Yes. Just tell me what they said.
I believe it was. I believe Joe connected the Janks with PLaNETS.
Okay.
I'm going to be editing that episode in a minute when I'm done here soon, because it'll be out soon. So I'll know for sure, and I can let you know.
And then you can tell me what my history is based on that.
Did you know in 2014 you were doing this? It'll be like the Chris Farley. It'll be like the Chris Farley show. Hey, do you remember when you were in the Beatles?
Yeah. That was awesome.
Remember I thought you were dead? Yeah. You weren't really dead, were you? No, Chris. I was very much alive. So I do that with a lot of times. I have a very historical timeline thing going on. I did that with Chris Hillman once, actually. Chris Hillman because he frequents the. I met him through a church thing, and he. The first time I met him, like, oh, you played Monterey Pop after Jefferson after Jefferson Airplane, but before Otis Redding. Like, yeah, how did you know that?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was me in high school. I was in high school saying that, and I'm like, oh dear. Like, I guess if you're in high school, you can come off a little nerdy like that and be okay. But if you came off
do
like,
it anytime.
Yeah. But rolling it back, I believe Joe connected the Janks and PLaNETS, and I think Brandon said that you guys met the Janks, and that brought you to the PLaNETS crew.
Okay.
I think. Now, I really feel like I'm not doing my due diligence by remembering what I hear when I talk to people, but
I believe it. No.
I think that's what it is.
I don't believe that you're not doing your due diligence. Okay. I believe that story that Brandon told.
Okay. I've been doing a lot of these are all done in clumps, so it's like I have to remember what it's in giant. Yeah, so I have to schedule when I can, and then it all works out. But I think my history, if you want to know,
I sure do.
All right, I met Ted and John in college. We were all going to Cal State Northridge together, and we were all in the music program. And eventually they got this gig doing, I forgot when it was. It may have been like late 14, early 15. But they were working on their Like Your Brother album. Like I was helping them out. But I would eventually do like sound gigs for them when they needed an extra hand. And they could afford it. And they did a deal. They had a thing where they started playing the Cinema Bar on the regular.
Yeah, I played there with them once, or maybe before them. I mean, yeah. Yeah,
and it's a strange thing because it's you always have one of those venues or memories that you really don't care for, but it brought so many things to you that you're like you're kind of grateful for. Like I don't know exactly.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Like, what if I didn't go to Cal State? Or I actually got what if I actually got a better engineering degree or audio engineering degree at at Miami or, somewhere that had a better program. I wouldn't have met half these people and I wouldn't be where I am and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But, so I think what happened was maybe late 2014, I met the Janks. So I met Zach and Dylan and I remember them walking in the Cinema Bar in their all in black jeans, black shirt, maybe black polo, I can't remember. And the long, either a duster or a pea coat, like those black kind of trench coats with the long, scraggly hair. And Dylan had the giant beard, and they were just hugging everybody, like, oh my gosh, so nice to meet you. And it's like, well, oh my god, this is. It was a little bit of it was a nicely off-putting situation. We're like, oh great, this is. You're super nice. This is awesome, and you sound awesome.
Nice people.
And your songs are great, and your voices are awesome, and you have a cool duo sound. Because this wasn't the Janks. This was just the two of them, because of radius clauses in Los Angeles. You can only play certain places. You know this.
Oh,
this
word.
Rate,
Yeah.
So if like you were playing the Satellite, and as the Janks, you couldn't play anywhere in Los Angeles for another 30 days, which is like.
So
weird. It's ridiculous. So they would change their names and then you could play the West Coast, plus play the West Side, excuse me. And so I got to know them a little bit, and they would keep coming. There would be like once every month, or every time the Deltas did a residency, the Zemeds were like the highlight, the pinnacle, the climax at the end of the month, the kind of where we were all going. And so it was the one we were always looking forward to. So we every time got to know them a little bit better. And it got to a point where they really liked what I was doing as far as sound stuff was concerned. And it was because that gig
Were you doing live sound there?
I was doing live sound there, and it's sort of it's sort of a
challenge.
It's a challenge, and I think I made it work for me, because if it was to my own professional standards, I would not be mixing by jumping on stage. To actually have a show, to do, if I didn't bring my own gear in to work that whole thing, I submixed the console. So I brought out my own little digital mixer to do everything, because it's like a Nashville, slap a crappy console on the wall and just call it a day.
Yeah.
These powered speakers and it's actually a powered mixer too. So the mixer has power amps to power the passive speakers outside.
You had your work cut out for you there.
Yeah, it sucked. It was terrible.
It was terrible.
It was not my favorite venue, and I don't miss doing them. But Ted to this day, and if he listens to this podcast, he will tell me you wouldn't have been, I wouldn't have met Sparrow, I wouldn't have met the Janks, I wouldn't have met half the people, most of the people I've met because of them and that terrible place. okay, and then I'm also I kind of, funny enough, and I don't want to get on too much of a tangent, but if you don't mind,
I know.
My uncle, we all have a sound business up in Camarillo.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of how I got where I am as far as the sound, doing live sound and all that stuff, and we mostly service Santa Barbara. But he is usually one that, has a sort of an ear for, he was the one that would turn me on to like Wilco and some other things. He had a certain modern taste for, you could find more modern acts that were actually pretty catchy and pretty tasteful. And he'd show me, you gotta check out these guys. And he told me this one story we did when he did a local festival up in Camarillo, and this band showed up, and they were kids. They were like maybe early 20s and stuff. And it turned out to be King Washington.
Oh, word!
Because George is from Camarillo originally.
Wow. Okay. What a web.
Yeah. And not only that, I find out that they're good friends with the Zemets, like everybody else. And they're also
from that part of the world. Is that how all these people are connected, or?
I wouldn't say that, because I mean the Zemets are like valley based, like Calabasas or Encino. They were living in Encino, and like they had roots in Calabasas or in the valley. I think King Washington was also based in the valley, like Tyson.
Yeah, I think Tyson's in the valley.
Yeah, I think so. But George, I think his family lives up here in Camarillo, and he's frequented. He frequents up here, which I need to talk to him on another note. But I want to maybe I'll get him on this pod. But
it's
anyway,
on the record now.
Yeah. So this is around 2015, and they're kind of pushing. They were touring a lot. They were going to New York for residencies. They were coming back. They had the Overload album, and they were working on a new one. And they were playing a residency in. It was a residency in Hotel Cafe.
Okay.
Hotel Cafe, and they. I'm sorry. This is getting really long. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's fun. I like hearing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I realized they're going to be playing, so I wanted to go to every show and kind of get to know them, get to meet them and sort of stuff. They had their own sound guy, so I wasn't like hustling too much. I just don't know. I'm not a salesman, and it's really hard for me to go like,
I hate that too. Yeah.
I want to work with these people like as an engineer, but I don't want them to. I don't want to come off like I'm desperate or like
I know exactly
want to take their money or anything like that. So I got to know them a little bit, and I also realized that the final night of their residency, they had the Janks and Burning Jet Black and somebody else. I can't remember, but it was. But anyway, I sort of got to know them pretty well, and anyway, that's kind of where I found out that there was a little bit more to that. Flash forward, they. Zach and Dylan asked me to do sound for their. They had started the Everly Brothers project, and they were touring for about a year. They were coming back to do like a live recording and film session at the small little theater in Studio City called the Whitefire. And so I brought in my own PA, and I was going to record it off the desk and multi-track it and mix it for them and for the video, and it turned out to do really well. And that's kind of how that all happened and that led to the Father Time's Christmas special, which led to going to the satellite to see the Summer Love show, and then even going to like, I got to go to this Christmas special again. And then by that point, late 2017, David Sparrow and I are trying to work on his solo record, and we're doing a lot of this principal recording. We're doing a lot of the drum tracking and rhythm guitar tracking. And, I mentioned to him, like, let me go see what time the show is, like next week. And it was that night. it was the first Saturday night of December, not the second. And I go, why do all these holiday parties always start in like the first week? And I'm like, oh, that's because everybody has stuff to do for the rest of the month.
At the end.
You can't guarantee everybody's going to be there for the end of the year. So anyway, that's an extremely long and winding path for me to say I know these people, but how I got to know these people. So yeah. So and then one of those residency, I know LA Riverbend played one of those cinema bar shows. I remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
wow. Were you doing sound then?
I was, yeah. 'Cause I remember talking to Nate about coming.
Is that where we like officially met? Maybe. Maybe this is just what we don't need to do. I don't
know. Yeah. I know I had to.
Just hard to say.
I know I had to. Yeah. Because it was sort of like we've been more passing ships in the night than actual,
for sure.
Hanging out. Because I would have, like I said, I would have loved to be there for the recording session of David Sparrow, and that was the one day I didn't show up. But I had orders. I had marching orders for everybody in there.
Yeah.
I said, okay, because he went to Rob's house to do that.
Yeah.
And essentially, I told Rob, here's what I kind of want for this. I want the ribbon mic here, and I want this condenser mic here, and we probably should be fine on how that works out. I'll pick the best mic later in the mix. If they work better together, it'll be fine. And it turns out it was awesome.
Hell yeah.
I'm actually.
Well,
we had a project for the Psychedelic Space Beef Band, which is my project, that required some strings, and I kind of wish I called you on it, but we'll do that next time.
Whenever, let me know.
Yeah. So that's I don't exactly remember when the Cinema Bar shows stopped. I know they kind of went on for a while, and I know LA Riverbend probably played. I'm going to go ahead and say it was before the sessions. So I think we may have
think so.
Probably officially met there.
Maybe I think 2017, 18, 17. 16? I don't know.
Definitely it's 2017 onward.
Yeah.
I know 16 was the end of that. And I just met Brandon at the Whitefire. So that was sort of new. I met Bert and Brandon through the Zemeds.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, so that's. Oh, all right. I think. And if you have any other questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. If you don't mind the time to wait for me to explain it.
Yeah,
I can meander a little bit.
It's great talking to you. I don't care.
Good. Okay.
Anything else about PLaNETS we should touch on?
Yeah. Was there a show? I know we kind of talked about favorite live things, but was there a show that you were fond of, like this particular show?
Well, I was definitely playing the Troubadour was insane because I was still pretty fresh to LA at that point. Maybe I'd only been here. Was that 2014?
I think so.
So I'd only been in LA about 3 years, and I think I have a bit of imposter syndrome, but I think pretty much every artist does in the world. So, and that kind of goes for this group too. They could be screaming in your face like you belong, and then I'd be like, okay, but all right. But that show, I truly felt accepted, and this was this huge opportunity to play at this legendary venue, and and there it's just still such a warm, welcoming atmosphere, and I snapped a string on my cello that morning, which was really stressful, but everything worked out. That was really a special show.
Is restringing cellos a more tedious effort or more challenging?
It's not. It's scary because there's a lot of tension, so you're afraid it's just gonna snap on you. Yeah. But I think. Oh, what was I gonna say about that show? I just felt really lucky because they're just people that poured so much work into that, the choreography, the puppet show, the props, the book, the paper, the costumes, and then I just got to step up and be I'll play a little part in this. This is awesome. And it was just the most amazing experience.
Yeah, I would always kind of, and part of the inspiration behind this show and this series, actually most of this series, is the amount of camaraderie that is three-dimensional in a very 2D sense, because we have to be kind of digitized to communicate. And watching like Couch LA and then some of these streaming shows, and I see you're commenting, and I see Kim ZB commenting, and I see Dubs on the chat, and they're just, you know, everybody's involved, and I'm not very much of a commenter online. I watch and I have my own thoughts, but I don't share them because I just don't. They could be misinterpreted emotionally or connotatively, and also I'm just not a talky person. This is the most talking you'll hear out of me is between a conversation like this, and the idea that connection could actually inspire people to actually do, and unless people are already doing that, but like
no, not me. Yeah, I'm the same as you. I'm usually not one to do that.
Right. Yeah. So it's just like, oh my God, so and so awesome, you're here. That's so cool. And like everybody seemed to be doing that. And it seemed to be there. Like I've been using
so awesome.
I've been using like a scientific like astronomy wordplay with like the orbit but there is a sense of gravity to everything that it's pulling people together in this. I'm going to rip off Joe's show a little bit. I don't know if you've been watching that. It's been good.
Yeah.
But I am kind of curious, you know, along with, you know, her take on things about what you're most excited about coming out of this situation we're in as far as quarantining and vaccines. And I know there's a lot of people in like the middle of the country that kind of have, I'm not going to say throw caution to the wind, but have been more, you know, more eager to
more
eager to go through with it, and more power to them if they all agree with that. Like if they're all in that community and they're all willing to take that risk and accept those risks away. So I guess more power to you.
It's better for your own stress levels to just like deal with what you can deal with in front of you. And
I guess,
because I can stress out over what they're doing all day long, but mentally that's not the best idea.
I used to take it more personally when I was like, no, you're keeping me out of work. Fuck you. That's kind of my attitude about it. Because, you know, music, at least live shows, and I am a codependent of a codependent as far as my job's concerned. Like I can't work without music. Music can't work without people. People need to be there.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so if you guys are prolonging this because you guys don't want to do that, I was taking it more personally, and I don't regret it in terms of that.
I see where you're coming from.
But I've eased up a little bit. I think part of it is because I'm doing this podcast or talking to people again and sort of becoming more productive about it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So, but I mean, you were touring with Angel Olsen, right?
Yeah,
That was like a steady gig.
We were supposed to. We had like Australia and 2 Europes and the U.S. tour.
Oh man,
it was all supposed. We were supposed to play though. Anyway,
I'm envious.
We don't have to.
I'm envious of your plans. You didn't even get to go, and I'm still envious that you were supposed to be going there.
Yeah. Well, a few months ago we talked about the Australia tour happening in May, but that seems a little optimistic at this point in time. But there's a chance that some of that touring will come back. I mean, that's definitely what I'm looking forward to most, is just like playing in front of people or being in a room where people are playing.
Yeah.
I think I said this to Joe the other day, but like, I kind of had a crazy thought about like the first show we can all be at together. And like, after it feels safe and everyone's there, like, that's going to be the most insane moment. Like, it'll feel like, oh, did nothing just happen the last year, 2 years? I don't know.
Well, for me, it's going to be a chance to meet a lot of people in person.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, a lot of new people that I've met in person. Because I've seen people, there's a handful of people I've already, I know you, and I know Dubs, and I know Brandon, Bert, and a lot of people, and I know Joe,
Mm-hmm.
but I hadn't. There was I didn't know, Nick or Nate, or Alan or
I miss all these people you're naming right now.
All these people. And it's a chance, and it's gonna. I've mentioned this before about the about the Star Wars Return of the Jedi moment at the very end, where you're seeing like Wedge Antilles and Harrison Ford chat up, or like they're all meeting each other, like they all had their different parts to play in the big battle, but they're all hanging out at the tiki party.
It's gonna be just like that.
Oh yeah. So I'm really looking forward to and so I really hope it there's a one. I hope I'm available for it, because it could be a chance I could be working back out on the road. Who knows?
No.
Or I missed the memo somewhere along the line and realized it was a week earlier than I thought it was, and I'm no, I missed it. This was supposed to be
Not again.
I was supposed to hang out with Jeff Miller. He was supposed to get me Couch LA tickets.
You told me I could come.
He told me I could come. He didn't tell me I could come, but it was implied. No.
Oh yeah,
no,
you're
it
in.
was, no, for sure. Things like that. I'm really even things like most of the time, and like I live in Ventura County, and for me to go down and commit to go see shows in Los Angeles was kind of a rather large commitment. It was a chunk of change, just money wise, gas, and even time. And you were committing that you probably weren't going to be waking up early the next morning, because you had to drive back at 2 a.m, and it's just traffic's not a problem. It's just
right
making sure you're not.
It's a trek for sure.
It's a trek. And there's a part of me that does miss that a little bit, because I remember trying to drag, and it was also just trying to drag some of my local friends down and experience it. And sometimes they were not as into it because they were being dragged down there or for whatever reason.
Right.
But they had a different experience with the whole thing. But I kind of have this hope that, I'm really looking forward to seeing what new venues would pop up to be the new host. There's parts of me that there's parts of me that don't miss the sort of some of the business practices of the older places that I think Stilly mentioned it about, like the Satellite, where music was always kind of at risk of being sacrificed at the hands of the bottom line and the rent of Silver Lake. So
totally.
I hope places like the Bootleg. I kind of hope that there's a sort of and I know a lot of people haven't think about this, about the investment that people can make into doing that as a hobby, or not a hobby, but as a side, as an additional. Like, I would love to see like Joe and Dubs get together and like put together their own place, or even have their own separate places. Or
I feel like I've talked to Joe about she should open her own place for sure. Like,
there's
so incredible.
Yeah.
Need a little bit of cash flow and
a little bit of cash flow, and keep that day job, keep that,
but that stuff like that will definitely happen. Like, there will be new places if all the old go. I mean, it's sad. It's sad to see that Satellite go, but it'll continue some way or another. Like, even speaking of Joe again, like, she's doing some secret park shows. Like,
that's right.
Music will find a way. Like, it's gonna happen.
Now I'm thinking about what Nate said. Art finds a way.
Art finds. Oh yeah.
I'm not sure if he's happy with me repeating that.
I mean, it's true though. It's not wrong.
No, it's and that's some of the cool stuff. Even with the people that are leaving California, you get their part of it is they're able to. I'm really excited when I talked about the Zemeds being in Tennessee. There's some cool elements to where some of the neighborhoods they live nearby, like Columbia. You see a lot of potential of new money coming in, new business money, and new small business money, and a potential for new venues to pop up that could be really cool watering holes. for people, cultural watering holes.
Yeah,
And you really need a lot of those.
There'll be a real hunger for it too after all this. I
definitely
think. I hope. Yeah.
Yeah. You just need I don't know what it is about some of those places. Like, I don't know if you read David Byrne's How Music Works book.
I haven't. No.
He dedicated a chapter. It's the best chapter in the entire book because he kind of talks about different stuff. Like, it really does run the gamut as far as like, multi-track record, like the technology of recording and the some of the financial idiosyncrasies of like, classical funding, art like high art funding. But he dedicates a chapter about how to start a scene.
Oh, really? That's
and
cool.
he basically kind of chronicles like, makes CBGB's Exhibit A as far as like bands drink for free, insisting on original music, on playing original music, and part of that's a copyright or PRO, performance royalty situation. But hey, but even just that cultivating the idea that this is a cool place to be before and after a show. And during the show. It's a cool chapter. I have the book, my copy of that book is on loan, and the person that has it needs to give it back to me because I want to reread it.
Whoever you are.
You know who you are. But yeah. So yeah, I think everything. I really am looking forward to that moment where everybody gets together because it'll be. I really do hope I hope it's as magical as I think it is in my head because it's
gonna be surreal and it's gonna be very magical.
Because I know I'm definitely romanticizing this scene as the last 10 years have developed, as what has happened with these people and with you guys and everybody. Mm-hmm. And because mainly because I consider myself an outsider looking in because I was not part of that core development, or even just like the group of people that kind of came into it. And even when I did go to shows, I was very much what is this? How did they pull this off? I'm very much a behind the scenes, like how did this happen? The making ofs.
Yeah, I think that too. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
It's the idea of like the idea of the fact that these, especially those tribute shows, because like I'm sure you had like people had to get one, they had to rehearse it, make sure all the songs were good. You had your own band, you had LA River Band, and you had a crepe job, assumingly. So you had
that left very early. Okay, I was done with crepes by 2012, perhaps.
Oh, okay. but you had but essentially they had people had to commit to this as an extracurricular beyond their own project and their own like day job. I mean or job, to go to Alhambra and rehearse these things.
It was always like the joyful thing though, and it never felt like, I think other people have alluded to this, but it was just like a come if you can, and like we'd like participate if you can. Whatever you can do is great, is welcome. So it never felt like, it was always easy and nice, or like a safe, relaxed place you can go. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like another job I got to go to, or
That's true. I mean, you really do have to want to do it for sure. To make that work. Because like I said, I think about treks and I think about long drives. Anywhere in Los Angeles that you want to get to takes an hour. But the idea of like going across town to do, I don't know where you were. I don't know where you're living now.
In Glendale. I've been in the same place for a long time. Yeah.
Okay. So that's not as bad.
It's not so bad. It's not so bad. But I do think about it like I'm here in Buffalo right now, and like to get to the next city, like Rochester, is 45 minutes, and I would never think to like go to a show in Rochester growing up here. But like in LA, you're like, well, I'm gonna drive 45 minutes to the Viper Room or whatever. I don't know. Not that I'm not gonna do that, but
it was funny. Even last time I was actually on the East Coast, was on tour, and the gig we had that night was at the Birchmere, which is a kind of a well-known venue in Alexandria, Virginia, so DC.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's in the Virginia side of the DC area.
Okay.
And I knew that we'd played the Ram's Head the year before, so I knew of the place in Annapolis, Maryland, and that's where Sparrow was playing on a Wednesday night.
Okay.
He's doing one of his shows when he moved back to Maryland. And I'm like, I'm gonna go see him because hey, like it's been a while, and we should talk some shop here because it's been, you know, we need to see where the album's at, like as far as sales were concerned. But and I ended up making that drive. It was about an hour. He just texted me.
Whoa!
He just
really?
texted me. That's so trippy.
Wow. Damn. That's
Oh my
creepy.
gosh.
Tell him what's up.
Yeah, yeah. He's got a song out, or he covered a song. It's you know the song "Lost in the Past." Remember that one?
Yeah.
You played on it. No, he before he left, he covered it in a studio with the Tens, and the Tens are releasing it on Spotify. And I noticed that it popped up on his Spotify for Artists page.
Oh,
I should pitch this to Spotify so they can get some playlists and he can get some money for it. So, or get some streams. But
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, not always the same thing.
But yeah, and I realized it was But it was kind of funny because I realized like I'm going across state lines, across the Beltway to go see Sparrow in Annapolis, which is about an hour plus outside of Virginia. But I'm used to doing that. Right. It's like,
it's a normal trip for a show.
Yeah. The trippier thing was I had all the band gear. I had all my personal like pro audio gear our tour was small enough to get into a minivan to save money. So I would drive a minivan instead of driving a truck or a van or a larger van to go across the East Coast on these touring trips. It was just kind of cool to go see him because it's like, hey, I'm here, you're there, let's go do it, you know. But yeah, it's, you know, sometimes you wonder if that's and even for me, like Santa Barbara's about 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
And I now go there daily, or no, weekly. Weekly. I used to go there daily, but I'd go there weekly just because I need to get outside. And Santa Barbara for me is a better place to do it than Los Angeles currently, as both health reasons and aesthetic reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love Santa Barbara.
It's awesome. I can't say enough good things about the California Riviera, but but anyway, I think I don't know. Do you want to wrap it up with anything you want to say? Anything you want to plug? I think we're at a good place to wrap it. So
cool. Sounds good. This is fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for doing this. Yeah.
Awesome.